We have all heard of this phrase one time or another by either our friends or family, that you should buy XYZ property because it's in the school zone. This video takes a deep look at this common phrase that we're so used to hearing and actually determine whether it holds any merit or not. Just before I begin, welcome to my channel. My name is Mihir. I upload educational content such as this, so if you're interested, please hit subscribe. But without further ado, let's get straight into the video. If I pull up a heat map of the top performing secondary schools in Melbourne, we can see that most of these schools are situated in the eastern area and the southeastern area. And what's special about this is that the suburbs that capitally appreciate the most in Melbourne are also located in the eastern and southeastern suburbs. Now, if I were to take that same logic and apply it in Sydney, so if we get the top performing secondary schools in Sydney and we see where majority of them are situated, I probably, without even checking, could see a noticeable trend in those suburbs being the ones that capitally appreciate the most. But for the purpose of this video, I'll stick with Melbourne as I reside here. So I'll pull up a table now depicting house prices that are in the zone and outside the zone. So let's take a look at that. So if we pull up the table now, you can see that we have basically secondary schools. So in this chart, there is 2+ bedroom houses, and this is recorded from the start of 2018 till the end of 2018. So if you look at these schools, these are very high performing schools in regards to VCE performance. We can see that the first school, glamourous Secondary College, there's a $412,000 difference between being in school zone and boarding school zone. And if you're in Melbourne, I'm sure you've heard of Gun Waverley, Kew, McKinnon, Mount Waverley, Camberwell High, and so forth. So this is how the difference is in regards to numbers. And if you're wondering where I got this data from, I got this data directly from Michael Yardney's blog. And if you do not know who Michael Yardney is, I highly encourage you to search him up and read some of his books. He's basically a successful property investor, an Australian one, not an American one, who's been at the game for around many years, many decades. So this is directly from him. But now let's go on to another sort of table I have from you. Furthermore, I also have data from the Real Estate Institute of Victoria, and this should be highly credible. So if we take a look at this data, which is written in an article in realestate.com, we have data from this year, so 2021, which is quite good. So we can sort of cross-check this with Michael Yardney's data and see if there's an underlying trend, see if it's increasing or decreasing. So I'll present that now. So based on this, let's just go straight to the schools. So everything's same. The price difference for homes inside the zone compared to those bordering the zone, same metric, and we have two better houses. But this time it's from January 2021 to June 2021. So let's take a look at Box Hill High School as that was present on both of the lists. So in this one, in 2021, there's a 206K difference. And in the year 2018, there's an 85K difference. Obviously, I understand the way the median is calculated. It's sort of like in the middle. It's not an average. However, it's slightly more better metric than calculating the average, which can sort of just overskew it. So we can see there's a huge difference already. And what many people, I guess, failed to understand in the last boom sort of we had this last year is that international people, yes, they contribute a lot to our economy and money, but you saw what happened with house prices. There's a national demand. It's not international, it's a national demand. A lot of first-time buyers stepped in, a lot of investors stepped in, and boom, we had a big jump last year, despite what many people were saying. So I'll continue on forward. So I'll just put the list up for a brief more second. I'll link the article below so you guys can have a quick read through it, understand what's going on, understand from the author's point of view, and just look at the data. But now I'll move on. So the whole premise here is supply and demand. Everything in life goes to supply and demand. And what you do by creating zones is effectively you reduce supply. And if you reduce supply, you therefore increase demand on a theoretical probability. So you may be thinking, okay, Mihir, I get it. We're creating a shortage in supply. That's fair enough. But why would many people vouch to go to such schools? Obviously, we know they're performing at a really high standard, but still. And the reason we can attribute that is because of parents. So many of these parents, or basically the people that buy these houses in the zone, want their son or daughter to go in a good school, make sure their education is on point, because these people on a balance of probabilities, tend to be white-collar workers. And what's common with white-collar workers is that they go to university. They have a bachelor's degree, master's, or something higher, and they want to instill that same level of education into their children. So that's why they pick the best schools, and they're willing to pay a premium to do that. And the reason they can do that is because they have higher disposable income. And if we pull up, I'll see if I can find it. There was data by ATO as well that white-collar workers on average tend to earn more than blue-collar workers. I know there's some tradies and plumbers that earn like crazy amounts, which is insane. But on a balance of probabilities, if you took everyone in that occupation, like every blue-collar worker and white-collar worker, an average white-collar worker generally tends to earn more. And they can scale it up quite easily. So in this instance, these white-collar workers have high levels of disposable income. They're willing to pay a premium for their children's education so that they can attain or get into a university, get their bachelor's and master's. That's why they do this. And the demand is so high that it's pulverized the property market in these zones. And I'll further explain other things as well, just to give this a bit more sense. But for now, just think of it like this. They have high disposable incomes that they're willing to spend, and they really value education that they're willing to pay such a premium. But even in the eastern suburbs in general, if we exclude public schools such as Bowen High School and Kew, there are also heaps of private schools, which you got to take into consideration. And private schools are very expensive. I'll give you an example. In Bowen, there's Bowen High, which is public, and there's Fintona. Fintona is a private school. And in order for your daughter, because it's a girls only school, to be enrolled, it costs $30,000. Yep, I'll pull up a table right here. It costs that much to send your daughter to that school. So if someone can send their daughter or their child to a school like that, which costs a lot, imagine the amount of disposable income they would have on their hand. These guys are also one of the big reasons for pushing up the property market, because they just have a high level of disposable income, which I keep reiterating. If you're enjoying the video, please make sure to hit like, as it truly helps me out and allows this information to reach more people. So please hit like. Overall, I hope you can see that there seems to be a strong trend or consensus towards a high-performing school and a high-performing suburb in terms of capital growth. However, let me stop you there, not so fast. Yes, Bowen is a high-performing suburb because it's got Bowen, which is a really good public school, top 20 most of the time, and then Fintona, which is also in the same category, but it's a private school. Yes, it's got those two. However, there's other factors that I haven't said. There's things such as walk score, so how things are readily available to your address, like cafes, transport, venues, things of that nature. And also builds in general, so the supply. I understand I told you that in a zone, yes, you cut off supply, but the area in general, Bowen already has very little supply. And then you're making it even smaller. So I'll put up a couple of images of how many properties are in market in Bowen and Cranbourne. A developed area like Bowen has very limited, and then you also have council restrictions, which is another thing that I should mention. And if you look at Casey, so Cranbourne area, you can see that there's loads of more supply. It's just simply numbers. And there's heaps and other factors which I've already discussed in a video, which is top things you need to know before you invest in a suburb, which I'll put a little eye icon link here so you can click on that, or in the description. But yeah, there's heaps of factors. And just to further hone this example for you guys, if we went on this logic, the top performing high school in 2019 was Ballarat High School. So I'll put that up here. So they performed the highest. So if you went by that logic, you'd assume, okay, Ballarat High School equals area that's going to capitally appreciate crazy. And Ballarat has actually been doing quite well, but you can't compare it to the likes of Bowen, Hawthorn, Kew, these sort of areas. You can't compare it. Although it is doing well, and it did really well in this short booms we had last year. But if you look at a 10-year span, it's getting there, it's improving, but not yet there. So there's heaps of factors, and please check out that video. I'll discuss it more. To summarize, there's heaps and heaps of things that you need to look out for. Sure, schools are a good indicator generally in terms of if the suburb is going to grow, but there's got to be other schools as well around that area rather than just one sort of outlier sort of thing. So, like I said, demographics, supply and demand. Those are the two macros you should focus on. Then you should sort of dive and delve a bit deeper into the micros, such as vacancy rates, what occupation they're doing, things such as council approvals. Then you go into like supply in that specific area. There's so many heaps of things that you can look into, but you got to go from the bigger overview, then sort of delve in. So if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit like. It truly helps me out. Just a little effort, just hit the like button. And if you're interested in videos such as this, or just my content in general, please subscribe, because I'll ensure to upload videos like this, high quality, every week. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day. It's pretty sunny today. Goodbye.